Come on, YouTube. On the air for the last show of the dupe. Tweet that. Retweet that. Come on, YouTube. There you go. All right. Pause that. We make sure the output is at like 3,500. Okay. Then we go in here and we say, that, and that, copy that, paste that. And then last. Everyone. And at Caleb. At Rave. Kill that. Okay. I think we've done all of the on the air thingies. 7. All right. That was a pain in the ass. We should be live on all the platforms through the power of the internet. Here at our weird hour this week. No, lots of people showing up. Sweet. All right. I still got to finish the slides because, again, I was stuck in dev hell this week. Like I've said before on the previous episodes, it is the hell season here at work because, like, seriously, okay, for software dev, people who I don't know why anybody thinks that there's any time in software dev between January 10th and December 10th and January 10th. Like, it just makes no sense to me. Because the everybody's on vacation. It's a pain in the ass to get in touch with customers. Like, everybody thinks we'll be super, we'll crunch to the end of the year. We'll crush it to the end of the year. And then nothing actually gets done and everybody's half panicked and my stupid fucking mic is being really shitty today. So pardon me for that atrocious noise. No, Twitch should be streaming. Twitch is we always simulcast. We're up on everything. So ANSYS is not a bad idea. Of course, I leave to the last minute. So my dev thing this week for the show has been trying to get the Google Docs Slides API running, which, oh my god, is so much more trouble than I thought. That is like 4 times as big a project as I really budgeted for. I can do it. It's going to take a lot more fucking effort than I wanted it to. So, yeah, and then I've been going through the R templates again to make sure that, you know, we're streamlined so we can generate the plots, because I'm not ready to write a robust plotting API, because that is a very large problem to tackle. Like, that is going to be, if I write a robust plotting API, I will be finding myself a new job. You know, I keep thinking that, like, I keep buying into the hype that all these wars are happening. And then I go check the fucking numbers, and nobody's doing shit. Anyway. So, like, I've had to go through with a fine-tooth comb and fix all of my R that's been awful, because R is a hacky mess. No, please. Small. Fancy armor repairers. And it's just an enormous mess. Let's see what else we got. Stratios are way up. We should talk about that. Because people have been contacting me about, like, oh, hey, I want to do more of this professionally. Teach me your secrets, which I'm more than happy to do. So I got a couple of questions about, like, what data science tools do we use? And primary among them is R, but the problem I have with R is that for the power you pay a terrible price in productability. I don't know. It's making an R product is a special kind of hell, because it takes you can solve your problems pretty easily the first time. Like, that's not a problem. But when you go through and you want to do all the stuff like test it and make it robust and share results and all the other stuff that comes along with software development, well, it becomes extremely painful. And you end up rewriting a lot of it, because the style, like, you don't lint R, for instance. Like, it's the style hurts. The fact that it doesn't protect variable classes hurts. The fact that it debugs like a bash script hurts. So, I mean, if you love Perl and you love that you can get shit done today, you know, then R is amazing. But if you then want to do anything with it 6 months later, well, fuck. That's my problem right now. So let's go do a quick pass over the price data stuff. Anything particularly good? Divergent. Impetus consoles are kind of interesting. I don't remember what those go into. I can give... -2, nothing in the -2. Nope. Corridors are kind of interesting. How many sell? How many sell? Yeah, you know, we'll talk about it. And Sven, I'll be writing the robot that replaces me. Oh shit, it's random. Here to swing the band hammer. Oops. Nope, go forward. Snowballs. I don't give a shit. Okay. Let's see what's on the high end. Small hydraulic bay thrusters. See. Okay, so here we are in pre-show, and I don't know if I should show off bombers or not. When I look at bombers themselves, and we can actually look at my, you can look at my desktop while I do this. So that one, we look at bombers, nothing's happening. So bombers are one of my canaries in the coal mine about, well, if people are going to war, bombers are going to be in high rotation. They're very useful, even with the dicks that are not dicks anymore. This is a, like, I'm not seeing anything popping up, right? Like, everything looks quiet on the bomber front, right? But then in my 2.0 filter, small hydraulic bay thruster Tech 2s are spiking, which is part of a bomber fit. That, or, you know, if you're going to fly Kestrels or some sort of alpha platform. But again, alphas can't use the Tech 2 things because the requirements are too high. So I'm stuck here with two signals that contradict each other. And so we probably won't include it on the main show. But like with all of the Testco propaganda, I want to believe, but all of the signals point in the opposite direction. So you know what? This is actually interesting enough to put in the show. I lied. So we're gonna put the bombers thing in here. We're going to put bombers in here. We're going to put, oops, that one, hydraulic bay thrusters in here. And I mean, anybody who's watched this show for any amount of time knows that I like war. I mean, war keeps the lights on. But like the tools of war don't really change that much. Like the top tier of the meta has changed. Like right now, faction battleships are the bee's knees, but you still need all of that support in your E-War. You still need the entire tool set at one layer or another, and it just, I'm not seeing it. It's making me sad. Oh, why? Why are you so fucked up? Because the time series is too small. Actually, I lied. That goes there. We go up. Here, we grab that one. All right. So that, I think, is going to make a show. Give me 2 seconds to finish doing the thing. So let me do my quick 5-minute intro spiel. for anybody who this is their first time tuning in, I know we got a lot more Twitter coverage than we usually do. This is the Eve Prosper Show. I'm the host, Lockefox. This is your premier source for market news in Eve Online. And if you guys are interested in market news, there is one other show by DeLone Wolf who does Eve Talk. He and I have opposite ways of reaching the same conclusions. He likes to read charts. I like to make tools. It's two sides of the same coin. If you want to talk more about market stuff, if this is just your jam, you should hang out in Caleb and Rivra's SCC Lounge channels. They're in-game, they're in Discord, they're on Slack. Those two are everywhere. And if you guys enjoy market talk, that's a place to hang out. Let's see, what else? So we're in a special time slot this week, and it's just because the fates aligned. I usually, I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, so and Thursday, we only have 1 or 2 nights that the show is really, really useful. Either I can do it on Wednesday night and be a little too early for the weekend, or Thursday night and be just on time. The idea being that if I broadcast at night for US, EU can wake up and watch it in the morning, and then everybody's prepared for the weekend. If I streamed on a Friday or a Saturday, I think that the news is too late for you guys to actually use. Things tend to be quietest on a Thursday anyway. And so just because schedules worked out, I'm here during the day because we have the day off. So you're welcome. My New Year's present to all of my EU fans is a live show that you guys can actually watch live. The show is generated with code. We're in the middle of a big V2 push. All of the code... Oh, excuse me. Holy crap. All of the code is open source. It's all on GitHub. Links should be down in the doobly-doo below, both on Twitch and YouTube. We use a Python backbone to do most of the heavy lifting, and then R generates all of the plots. We don't share the data yet, only because I'm bad and sharing is hard. It's to be done, but I'm a one-man dev team, so I have help from the illustrious Random Boy 50, who helps keep the lights on, but I write all the code, so it takes time. The show runs about 45 minutes, and though I don't tend to answer questions during that part of the show, feel free to use the chat channels to talk amongst yourselves or call me out for being wrong, because I'll at least acknowledge when I'm wrong. We do a Q&A after the show, runs about 45 minutes after the show. So if you guys have burning questions about specific Eve meta stuff or what have you, we can go over it then. Last piece before we start is that, and we're going to go over this once the show starts for real, because I just love repeating myself, is that we're finally opening up our Discord server, and links should be down in the channel info right now, both on Twitch and YouTube. Right, we do simulcast to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. YouTube is at a higher quality because YouTube can handle it. If you want to watch this in glorious 1080 HD, you can do so on YouTube. If not, then Twitch. I try to make it easy for you people. I know that Twitch now allows transcoding on all of the streams, so I might bump it up. I might bump up the Twitch stream and basically level out the two pieces. But yeah, we have the Prosper channel, and that's right. Try to make it so that everybody can watch on whatever's not blocked at work. Well, I know that I owe you guys podcasting, but editing is hard. So with that, I think that we're going to go ahead and start getting the recording underway and start doing the real show. So give me 2 seconds and we can start this faux reels. All right, that button. Oops. And I owe YouTube. I owe. So bear with me. 15 more seconds. All right. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the last Eve Prosper of the year. I'm your host, Lockefox, and we're here with all of the market news ahead of New Year's that you need to know about to be prepared for the oncoming test war, or if I may be so dramatic. So without any delay, let's go ahead and get straight into the show. Let's start where we press the wrong button. Press the wrong button, that button, and have the wrong thing on the thing. I am a professional. Good morning, like I said. First, I want to thank everyone who is tuned in live. We are broadcasting at a special EU-friendly time zone this morning at 1800. This is just a special occasion. I happen to have the day off from work. I wanted to come talk to all of my gracious EU fans that don't get to catch the show live. So we're here. We should be back at our normal time slot next week at 0400 on Friday nights. That's Thursday night U.S. time, 8 o'clock Pacific. But we're here at EU time for our EU fans. Second, I know I've been teasing it for over a month, but I've gone ahead and opened up our Discord. So if you go check the channel info down below, there should be links to join our Discord. We're opening it up to the public. If you want to talk about market stuff, we're going to have it there. And we're going to still be active on the Tweet Fleet Slack because we still have the dev fleet there. I still think that is a useful tool for the community. We are just adding on top of that our own Discord server. So if you are interested in the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made, if you are interested in learning how to code Python, if you like shit posting about data science, I encourage everyone to come join our Discord server. Information on how to join should be down below, and I'll go ahead and spread that link as far and wide as I possibly can. Also, I want to again put a big thank you out to all of our supporters over the last year. I know that it's been a weird year. IRL, it's been a weird year, but between our hiatuses and our code development and the fact that V2 is way behind schedule, I want to thank everybody who has supported us. I want to thank our patrons. I want to thank everybody who tunes in live. I want to thank everybody who subscribes to us, who reads the blogs. It has meant a lot to me, and it's been hard to keep active in the Eve meta, it has been a joy to do the show for all of you fans. So I really, really got to thank all of you. Last, just some quick shout outs is that if you want to follow the show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. I know that there has not been date stuff on the blog. I am in, again, it's been crunch time IRL, hoping to be back on the saddle for the January econ report. But seriously, I am booked solid until Martin Luther King Day. So we'll see just how much I keep up to that promise. Last, I want to thank our patrons, and if you want to support the show, the very best way to do so is through our Patreon at patreon.com/EveProsper. Even giving $1 a month really helps keep the lights on. It keeps us in server equipment. It keeps our bills paid. It keeps the show running. Keeps us ad-free week over week. And it's thanks to our patrons. If you can't support us, I completely understand. Even $1 still seems like way out there. I would appreciate it if you shared us with your friends. I always like seeing increasing numbers. This is an economics show, and I like seeing graphs go up and to the right. So if you can get our friends to subscribe, to tune in live, to follow us on Twitter, that would also be a huge support. Also to join us on Discord. I have to remember to add that to the spiel. So with that, now that I've talked your ear off about things that aren't graphs, let's get straight into the show and talk about Plex, our very favorite items. So if you tuned in last week, we talked about things being particularly weak as we butt up against the 1 billion-esque floor. If we look way down at the hold on, let me turn the laser pointer on. If we look way down at the bottom here, we see that things are extraordinarily weak, looking at the RSI plot here. And so Plex doesn't tend to punch under the oversold line, but it's staying in this weak territory. So I think that up to the red line, which is last week, this is basically just a lot of sales, a lot of extra money moving around the markets, alphas needing more content, demanding cash, and that cash being squeezed out of Plex. And then this last week has been a very cold week in Eve. And I think that's just exacerbating problems right there. So if we look at the 1 year chart, which I actually zoomed out to the whole year because I'm actually good at this sometimes, is that we saw last year that things picked up after December into February thanks to skill trading, but we're seeing a very flat response here in December because we really don't have anything on the docket outside of January, right? Like we're expecting, we should be expecting a post-ascension marketing push after the holidays. Now that all of the biggest bugs have been squashed, we should expect more cash being squeezed out if the Testco Circle of Two pandemic, whatever the buzzword for the war this time is, starts to actually squeeze out. But right now, we're not seeing any of that. Everything's kind of stuck in anticipation. And actually, of the things on the immediate horizon, all of them point to a lowered Plex price. If we see a bunch of new alphas come in after a media push, we should expect cash to be squeezed out of Plex to help those alphas find their professions. If the war actually picks up to a reasonable clip and people need to get paid to get equipment back on the field, we should expect to see the prices again squeeze cash out of Plex. Also, if mining actually does what I think it should be doing now that we're through, now that the Rockwall change is actually out there and fixed and starting to make some dents, is that to pay miners, cash will also need to be squeezed out of Plex. So, oh geez, that needs to not happen. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. So everything in my book is pointing to Plex going down. And if we zoom in on the prices, again, it looks like we're really just holding a floor with people just trying to keep it from going under 1 billion, right? Like we're seeing the margins are starting to get pretty thin. The sell pressure is still pretty high. Being above the 1,000 units mark is sort of a downward signal in my book. It's not a very strong downward signal. If we get up to the 1,500 units, it'll be a much stronger downward signal. And we're just sort of, speculators are propping this market up on their shoulders in the hopes that they won't go below 1 billion. I think that we absolutely will. And I'm kind of expecting mid 900s, low 900s Plex price by the end of January. So if you're holding and you think the price is going up, I'm sorry, you're wrong until CCP announces some sort of thing to change the equation. So I think as soon as people start coming back next week, we'll see this floor finally get shattered and prices start to fall. Moving on to look at the rest of the RMT tokens. Again, not a whole lot going on here. We were seeing lockstep with injectors still staying, like the margin between using injectors to cash in and Plex to cash in has been shrinking. But extractors have started to pull away again, which is a weird signal. We usually see it do this when we're seeing positive pressure, but I don't see the positive pressure here in Plex. So I don't know if this is just a buy floor pushing it up as zombie farmers are trying to stock up on cheap Plex, or I'm not particularly sure what's going on here. Next, if we look at the margin on skill injectors, again, the profit margins are pretty healthy for your zombie farmers once again. But as prices start to fall and if demand does not keep up, I think this is going to start trending down again. As long as Plex stays cheap, I still think it's going to be profitable to run zombie farms, even with alphas making that effectively a zero-cost startup. But the margins right now at 1 billion ISK Plex and going to a 950 million ISK Plex tell me that it's a good time to be a zombie farmer. So even though I was really hopeful that this crossover was finally going to open a new chapter, it looks like I'm wrong, and we're not going to get the pressure that I was hoping to get so that we could actually see the equation change on skill point loss. So pour out your beer for me and my bad predictions. And I guess there are a lot of people tuned in who may not have tuned in before. So zombie farming is where you just have a tune to extract skill points from. It's popular to buy up tunes from the character bazaar and just use them as husks to filter skill points out of. So you can sell off the existing skill points, and then you can pay. This marks the margin between the cost of actually getting the skill points, which is this jagged dotted line, and the actual profit margins once you sell the extractors. So that's zombie farming for Darkblade asking in Twitch. So next, if we look at the injector market, again, volumes are still spiky but hot. So I still expect this to track down under 625. I think we're at a local spike. I still think that the volumes up here are a little bit too high, getting to the 1,500 units on market kind of levels. But if this particular spiky behavior trends down 5% next week, I'll change my tune and we'll stay at this 630 line that we're at right now. Looking into our indexes, first we start with total trade. We were seeing a healthy movement in ship hulls, which is one of my favorite metrics. Lots of ships going out there means a lot of work for industrialists to do, and it means that there's a lot of people looking to go get into PvP. It's a good measure in my book of just how much energy is really running through the system. We were seeing a large increase in mineral yields thanks to Ascension, which again we expected thanks to the new boosting system and the new drones. We've seen a little bit of taper off in the last week, which again we're going to talk about. And RMT markets are holding steady. Actually, they're just slightly higher than I expected, given the state of the market at the moment. So this is looking pretty good, pretty healthy. The only thing I don't like is this dip in ship numbers. But if we look at if we go look at the killboard number as well, we can see where that number has gone. People would rather hang out with their families than kill each other in game, it seems. So I'm hoping that this is just a seasonal blip here of a cold weekend. We saw something similar back in Post Vegas had a similar dip right here, right? This double dip after Vegas is sort of the same behavior, just blown up much larger here. And I think it's seasonal. I don't know if we're going to get back up to the 16,000 ships destroyed per day or the trillion-esque mark as a weekly median. I'm hoping we do. I'm hoping that the winter war that is starting will help put fuel on this fire, because again, things that die need to be replaced. It turns the wheels of the economy. But it's in a weird spot to try and project exactly where we're going. I kind of expect it to be just under the 16K mark, unless we really see a big media push to get more alphas in the game. Moving on to minerals. Things are reasonably quiet this week across the mineral markets. Tritanium has bottomed out at 5 per unit, though I have said before, and I will say again, I think that once we get out of this weekend and into the next 2 weeks, that we will see us go from about 20 billion units on the market to something in the 25, 28 billion units on the market. Which I think is going to break us out of this 5.0 floor and move us towards 4.5, maybe a little bit below. I don't know if we'll actually get all the way up to the 28 number that I have in my mind, but I still think that this is a positive trend that has not played itself out yet, and we may see it delayed until the winter war ends. So we may see another 4 weeks at 20 billion units, at which case I expect us to maybe get up to the 525 mark, if depending on how the war goes. Again, it's really hard to judge because the propaganda machines are running at full tilt, but the metrics say that nobody's actually doing anything. So we'll see. Next, moving on to pyrite, again staying steady at 7.0. Things have been erratic, but have started to hold. We saw that there was a huge spike in supply, and supply has leveled off. Though I expect us to get to the 6 billion units mark, I don't expect as much overflow as I was originally expecting. So this is nothing much to say here in the pyrite market. Mexilon, though, was super weak a couple of weeks ago and is tracking up in a big way. And we can really see that here in units on market is really starting to look thin. Again, for the uninitiated, Mexilon is your canary in the coal mine for capital production and for heavy Tech 1 industry kind of stuff. Nullsec has a hard time getting enough Mexilon, so they have to ship it in. It's a real pain in the ass. So we're seeing prices track up as well. One, we saw a dip as we saw a dip as the EC Citadels came online, where people could actually build supers in their new equipment. And actually, I kind of expected, if this was just supers, I'd actually wouldn't expect as much constriction as we are seeing, because I still think that they lose just a little bit on the time equation post Ascension. But we're finally starting, like if capitals are rolling off the line and Tech 1 ships are rolling off the line, I expect these to be to keep tracking up as the gears of war start to turn. Isogen also coming off the floor. We see things. I still expected it to just keep tracking down. So egg on my face that we've recovered a little over 10% over the last week. Again, the picture here is all on supply. Things are starting to get thin on the ground for Isogen supplies, causing prices to spike. Not sure where all of that Isogen goes. I still think that we should expect more Amber out of HiSec being mined from alphas that should be keeping Isogen prices down. But industry stats say otherwise. So prices are high, but I don't know how to read this. This is a weird, unstable spot for me personally. Next is Noxium, which is holding steady, bouncing between 360 and 380. Supplies are staying steady at the 150 million mark, so not a whole lot going on here. I do sort of expect things to get a little bit weird once the war actually starts in a couple of weeks, probably next week. We might see a little bit of shortage on the supply side, trending to a slightly higher price. I don't know if that's enough to speculate on, though. You could probably make some money, but I have a hard time saying you'll make more than your taxes. So this is a speculative buy with a real heavy warning on it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Zydrine continues to be high and continues to be healthy. Again, we see a big buyout here, which I think is just temporary, so I wouldn't read too much into this spike. And we're still seeing less supply than I really expected. About half as much Zydrine is on the market as I expected there would be. Really not sure what is keeping Zydrine supplies down, because I still expect people in wormholes and nullsec to be overmining this stuff. And though capital warfare and capital outfitting will eat up a lot of the Zydrine, it just seems it just doesn't gel well with how much Zydrine I expect coming out of the market, versus what we're actually seeing on order. So I still think this is unstable high. I wouldn't touch Zydrine with a 10-foot pole. But that's just me. Looking into Megasite, again, same story. Still, I don't have good answers. We're peaking up to the 1400 mark. Again, we're seeing what looks like just a huge speculative buy, eating a bunch of supply out of the market. Again, having the supply line, and I mean this smells of just somebody trying to reset the price, of somebody buying out a whole truckload of the stuff, and it's actually holding the price, but it might just be that we don't see the miners here. Like, again, we're in a spot that I just cannot justify easily without just pointing at speculation or somebody manipulating. Because somebody bought out a whole bunch of Zydrine this week, a whole bunch of Megasite last week, and this is causing the price to shock up. So maybe it's a CSM leak. I don't frickin' know. This is annoying. And then last is Morphite, which has been unstable, trending down to just under the 11K mark right now. Supplies are starting to recover, so if you were sitting on Morphite waiting for a good day to get out, that good day was 2 weeks ago. And you need to, supplies are tracking up. We're not seeing the activity in the Tech 2 markets ahead of the war that we expected. So I mean, capital production, capital Tech 2 weapons and modules might be propping this up, but supplies are starting to eke back in, so I expect to be back under the 10K mark next week. Moving into our fuel markets, again, the post-ascension fall of nitrogen isotopes looks like it has found its bottom at just under 650, looks like 625. Again, we should expect that now without the industry demand, we should see more of a trending towards this 650 line on fuels. And I know that A's and company will yell at me for saying that that moon mining is done in Galente towers, but looking at the thing, I mean, one, Galente ice is harder to mine. Two, it's a popular use for larger silos. And three, like all of this fall in nitrogen, I'm putting on the back of industry posses moving to engineering, the new engineering platforms. This is 100% in my book off of that. And if otherwise, I think we would have seen. I don't think we would have fallen this far if there were more Caldari moon mining operations. I think that this shows a particular weakness now in Caldari because they're not a popular capital platform, except for their jump freighter. But the Anshar and the Rhea are really neck and neck when it comes to actual throughput. So we're just not seeing the, it all of a sudden became much cheaper to be a jump freighter, a Rhea jump freighter than it has been in the past. Next, fuel blocks. Again, nothing unexpected here. A little bit more precipitous fall in Galente ice than I would expect, but the trending here for all of the blocks to be the same price is expected. I actually expected Minmatar and Amar blocks to be a little bit higher than they are right now. They might be undervalued, but seeing as I don't have the spreads on the graph, it's a little hard to read that from just this chart. Next, looking at strontium, this should be our canary for big nullsec Savoir, and I see nothing. This is my point on prepping for the war, is that, I mean, this might be the slide that built up stockpiles, but I still expect regular old dudes to not buy until they actually need it. Like, heads, the guys on the top might understand like where they're going and have sort of a 4-week picture, but grunts who are doing the hauling, grunts that are doing the backbone supply, like the first order supply might know what they're doing, but the second order supply doesn't. It's going to be far more reactionary, and we're just not seeing the supplies come out of the market that we expect to see if Sov warfare were starting to really kick up. Like, this is, I expect about 3 million units of this stuff to start just sort of vanish once fighting starts, because you can't get around it. Like, I understand that the channel is arguing about stockpiles and such, but I just don't think that, like, people, like, even if they are stockpiled, it just offsets it by a few days, because they're going to want to rebuild that stockpile, and the prices are so low. Like, why would you burn the stockpile when the price is this low? Like, it just makes no sense. It should be bought up. I'm not seeing what I'm not seeing what I expected. I don't believe the war is happening. Heavy water is tracking up now again for all of my talking about a negative point for the war happening. Here we have a positive one, that we see a big stockpiling in materials to build the boosting charges, and a small price increase to go do it. So this might be a slightly positive thing. Again, heavy water is still such a cheap commodity that I don't think that we're going to see a ton of action on it. Moving on to our outliers, let's start where we always do, with advanced materials. Again, so we saw some spikes last week in metamaterials here in plasmonic and photonic. So that's Minmatar and Galente. Metamaterials were up, but a lot of quiet across the rest of the fronts. We're seeing weakness in the middle with fulleриdes and nanotransistors. We're seeing just steady in ferrogel and fermionic condensates up on the top. Ceramic fibers are tracking up slightly, but this is always a spiky, weird one, so things will just get unstable moving forward. Next, thanks to the chat ahead of the show, I should really look up who mentioned it. Firebrim brought up small ancillary armor repairers, and it looks like somebody we were stockpiling a lot of them because the loot tables were changed right before Ascension, I think. That supplies were finally catching up, and then somebody bought out the whole freaking stack, and now we're pretty low. This might be insider trading, because I don't expect 4,000 units to just vanish like that. It might be war preparations, but again, these should really be used by like alphas and small frigs, and just losing 4,000 of them out of the market at once. I don't know where they went. This is strange. This is weird. This is suspicious. Next, Stratios are trending upwards. Supplies are getting more and more constrained, and demand looks to be in staying steady. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. And prices are tracking up. So if you were holding Stratios over the last couple of weeks, again, this has been a weird one to try and speculate on. It usually stays steady or goes down. It doesn't tend to go up. But it looks like the supply lines on Stratios have become constrained. So it is a hot commodity. Next, Vector Navy issues, which have been a popular doctrine ship in the past, are a useful middle meta kind of ship, are tracking up in price big time. It looks like supplies have choked with Galente on their heel in the faction warfare space. At least that's the sort of expectation I have, is that supplies have been straining to keep up, even with the increased 20 million in prices. So as long as Galente are losing, I expect Vector Navy issues to remain somewhat expensive. But if you have a whole bunch of LP, this might not be a bad place to start looking to cash out, because demand remains strong as a fast way to get your cash, even if it's not the quote-unquote best ISK per LP kind of conversion. So I wanted to talk about how I sort of approach, I've done this show for a little over 2 years, and so I have a gut that is somewhat tuned. I won't toot my horn too hard about that. But like there are some signals I look for when we go into a big war. And one of them is bombers. Bombers and interceptors and interdictors are all very useful tools that are not well supplanted elsewhere in the meta. So like, but so for instance, interceptors are a little bit weird because they can still be supplanted by Tech 1 in a way, so you sort of give up some of the extra oomph, but especially with alphas, I don't expect interceptors to be as good a measurement going forward. And then the interdictors, well, interdictors tend to be pretty steady state, so whether we're in a big war or not, like trying to use them as a bellwether is tough. But bombers have consistently been a useful tool in the meta. Now, with the addition of the defender missiles that shoot down bombs, now okay, they have taken a hit on the chin, but that doesn't mean that bombs don't continue to be useful. It just means that they are less effective, and you may bring less of them. So in the ramp up for the war, what I see here on the chart is extremely boring. We're not seeing any price spikes whatsoever here in the bomber markets. But if we go next down the line and we go to small hydraulic bay thruster Tech 2s, well, we've been tracking up prices here, and volumes are a little bit hotter than expected. And you can't put these, I'm pretty sure, well, no, I guess you can put them on alphas since they just need to be fitted by somebody who has the skills. But still, like, what are you going to go put these on? These are great use for bombers, and maybe Kestrels. I don't think they're useful on the Caldari T3D. Not that they can fly T3Ds. Like as an alpha platform, like the only thing you're really going to pull out is the Kestrel. And otherwise it needs to go into Omega level fits, and some 60, 70, 80% of this stuff should be expected to go into bombers. So we see positive strength in the bomber, in a bomber fit utility, but we see no movement in bombers themselves, which weird, right? And then put that all together with the total destruction counts being down. Again, this sort of says to me that we're talking more about we're doing more propaganda than actually fighting each other. So we're just in a weird spot that makes it really, really hard as a predictor, as a forecaster, to tell you where things are going, because I mean, alphas have screwed up the equation. The defender missiles have somewhat screwed up the equation, but we're not seeing the other traditional signals put together. We're not seeing a spike in strontium. We're not seeing a spike in kill activity. We're not seeing as much movement in the other metas as we'd expect. So it seems like we're more talking about war than actually fighting each other. So I don't know how to give you guys advice on how to make money on the war when I have so many questions in my block that have gone unanswered. So this is me throwing my hands in the air and saying, I'm sorry guys, I'm doing a shitty job at informing you, and I don't know how to do it any better given the tools I have at my disposal. Next, moving on out of ranting about the not war, we'll talk about a few other interesting blips on the radar. Imperial Navy Curadors. are down sharply this week. It looks like there's a big sell-off, probably somebody just liquidating a bunch of loyalty points and screwing up the market. Impetus consoles are up, and they have been up since the Ascension, and I want to say these are rigs, so these are probably due to different signals from ECs and probably outfitting alphas, but things are tracking up on Impetus consoles, so buy, of course. And last, we'll move into prediction review, just because I need a place to talk about Gila's. Again, we're seeing another +1 point to war. Says that supplies are getting a little bit constrained, but we're not seeing a huge spike in prices that would go along with it. Like, this is a little less than expected. So this says to me that Goons and Imperium have slowed ratting rates, but have not picked up Gila's as a PvP utility, which, you know, I play the game purely through data analytics at this point, so this is probably a well duh for anybody who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to watching kill boards. Last, we're going to go talk about the weekly violence report, just to close off the market. I love that anytime a Fartazar dies, it screws up this chart and we get to see it. Nothing really interesting here in the list of items. Ishtar is up a little bit higher than I expected. The Vexor Navy issue, which is this terrible pink, is tracking downward, but again, everything's sort of tracking downward, so that at least is showing some words, right? But again, things are pretty quiet here on the front. Looking at popular systems, we still have Jita and Tama on the list, but Do and 7RM and Velarir are pretty hot. I believe it's because Velarir was just lost a few weeks ago, and 7RM and DO are as popular as expected. Last is regions, and nothing much. Well, okay, there's a little bit interesting, is that Citadel is as low as it is. Black Rise is continuing to be hot, but Fade, Placid, and Pureblind are the places to be looking for fights at the moment. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this show. I want to thank everybody who tuned in live at our special EU-friendly time zone show. I wanted to thank all of our fans, and this was a small way for me to at least nod the hat at some of you guys. We should be back in our normal time slot next week at 0400. Again, I reserve the right to cancel the show for the next 2 weeks because it's still pretty hot at work. I want to thank everyone for making this show as successful as it has been in 2016. It's with your help that the show has gone on. It's thanks to our patrons that have helped us build up new hardware, move into a dedicated piece of equipment, who have helped spur me on to actually writing better code so that we can actually maybe share some of this one day, and it's not such a garbage fire under the hood. This show is only here thanks to the fans. We'll see what 2017 holds. I do expect to run the show until May at least. And we will have to talk about plans going forward into the summer hiatus. It's been a lot of work to make this show possible for you guys, and lately, since I've changed jobs and moved cities, it has been very hard to stay on top of the EVE metas the way I have in the past, and so I'm hoping that if you guys come join the Discord that we just launched, you can help help keep me honest on the stuff that I have just not been able to keep a finger on the pulse of. So I guess that's just my clumsy way of saying thank you, and thank you for almost 80 episodes so far. Actually, I think that is 80 episodes because I started counting at 0. And so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to follow the show, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. Please subscribe, of course. And if you want to talk with us off the air, the very best place to do so is now our shiny new Discord server. Links should be down in the information down below. I invite everybody to join there. We will still be active on Slack. There are still invites to go join the Tweet Fleet Slack down there. But I wanted to give an outlet just for fans of Prosper, people who like the code, who want to know more, who want to learn more. This is my way of engaging you guys a little bit better. If you want to support the show, the very best way to do so is through our Patreon. Our patrons keep this show on the air ad-free week over week. They keep us in hardware and software and licenses, and they keep the lights on. And I can't ever thank them enough. So if you can give $1, it goes an extremely long way. If you can't give, I completely understand. You know, I am just a talking head on the internet. Please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe, because this is a economic show, and I like seeing graphs go up and to the right. So getting subscribers is just as good in my book. Thank you again, everybody who tuned in live. We're going to go into the Q&A session here on YouTube and Twitch, but the main show ends here, and have a good 2017. We will be back at our regular time next week. All right, that's a show. Looks like we had 20 on Twitch and almost 30 on YouTube. That's really not a bad turnout. I wish I could do this more often. But this is midday for me. This is 10 o'clock in the morning. This is a 10 o'clock show spot for me. So I have a really hard time making it here. So need that button, copy, new disk. All right. And I'm sorry, Caleb. We're not. I don't want to do a weekend show because doing it on the weekend is too late. The whole point of a Thursday night show is that we give you enough information to go into the weekend, and that means that I only have a window between like Wednesday 0400 to Friday 1800, or Friday midnight, I guess, in game time, to really make this show useful for all the traders. Like our time slot is very deliberate, and if I tried to commit to a weekend show, you'd actually get less of them, because it's just harder to it's easier to dedicate a weeknight than it is to dedicate a weekly weekend segment. Like my wife would rebel because I would be taking away one of our breakfasts together if I did a 1900 or 1800 show on the weekends. I don't mind streaming to you guys, and I don't mind doing office hours at more EU friendly times. But the main show has to be in its time slot. I'm just gonna put my foot down, and that's the way it's going to be. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, EU guys. That's just the way life is. So unless you find me a stellar job that pays me what I'm getting paid now in Europe, actually no, you have to pay me about 20% more than I'm making now, so that I could send my wife back stateside 4 times a year. So yeah, the so unless you have an amazing job opportunity in EU, we're going to be stuck with the time slots we got. But as always, I encourage other people to put up. Oh, hey, Hibiki. Hey, wait, no. It hasn't been 3 months. We can't talk yet. We always talk every 3 months. So, let's see, words. CCP will not hire me. I have applied. I have applied to be CCP Quant's number 2 for a few times, twice now. But I don't. The closer I get to that, the less I want to do that job. I love CCP. I don't meet your heroes. I don't want to work for CCP. My wife would. Oh God, I could not stay married and move to Iceland. let me put it that way. So I love their stuff, but to be honest, I adore my job right now. I have like dream level job right now where I get to do all of the architecture work that I enjoy doing. I have a boss who is stellar, and I don't. So yeah, it would take a lot to get me out of my current job. Especially working for a pre-IPO startup, leaving before the IPO would be fucking stupid, right? Like, what's the goddamn point of working for a small company like this if you leave before the IPO happens? Like, just put it back on the bucket list if I don't get to see an IPO. Oh, and you know what? My GitHub can get me jobs, man. Like I'm not worried about finding a job. I worry about doing exactly the job I want for the people who I enjoy doing it for. And right now I'm getting paid very well, and I have an excellent boss, and I get to do what I want to do. Like I'm filling out all 3 corners of the impossible triangle right now. So I'm more than happy to help people and teach people and let you guys help you guys get the dream jobs that you deserve. But yeah, I am a happy camper right now. Anyway, like if I were going to go into games, to be completely honest, if I can do a quick a little bit rant, is that really the problem I want to be solving right now. The thing that's on the top of my wish list is language processing. After playing with NLTK and seeing that text processing is like the next gold mine for economics, and seeing things like Event Zero as in the gaming space, like. Actually, Event Zero kind of pisses me off because I think they do it the hard way, and are like, I still think games are like, Okay, no, we'll do this. We'll do this range in order. So I want to do language processing. Like, if I could find a grant to do a master's thesis in it, like I would jump on that right now. I think that's the future of things going on in economics. If you wanted to do quant work, like that stuff is the bleeding edge right now, and it is not as hard as people make it out to be. So it's between doing deep learning neural networks and language processing are the two big. Oh, and image processing, like, are the three big cornerstones of computer science for the next 2 years in my book. And so, like, I got to play with NLTK for a bot program I played with, and there's a lot of research projects I'd love to do, but I need to get like grant money to actually do them because they're going to be a second full-time job. Somebody should pay for it. But that runs into my second problem, is that I really feel like for all of the bleeding edge work that's going on in computer science right now, I feel like gaming is 10 years behind. 10 years behind the actual tech. Like, with deep learning, why the fuck aren't there deep learning research projects to actually make meaningful AI with deep learning? Like, I know that I've seen some evolutionary work to play games or to do that kind of stuff, but very, like, all of it's all is all experimental. Like, you don't see it going into games. Like, I would love to, again, given grant money, would love to write a evolutionary deep learning Rocket League bot that learns from people. I think that should be completely possible given the technology right now to train up that sort of utility. But nobody's doing it. And then Event Zero, for instance, is getting all of this hype and press about how great it is at language processing. But you look under the hood, and the guy reinvented the whole fucking wheel and didn't use any of the NLTK, like, standardization or normalization or engramming. Like, it's all CS 101 level kind of shit when you put a Python backend on it, and you could do in 1/10 of the effort, you could stand this thing up and actually have a meaningful chatbot that you could build scriptable events into. And it frustrates me watching the bleeding edge of what's coming out right now. You know, you listen to Talk Python to Me or Data Skeptic or Partially Derivative, and they're talking with all of these PhDs and masters and pillars of the open source community, and all these great libraries that are super easy to use, are extremely well partitioned, and take all of the, you know, some other weirdo has done all of the hard work for you. And instead we have a bunch of game jam 20-year-olds who come right out of school with enough coding to be dangerous, but not enough industry experience to actually know that half of their shit's already solved by somebody who has a PhD. Like, this is my frustration. It's that the kids don't even know that all of the hard work has already been done for them. So yeah, it's, if I yeah, and I get that it's not a trivial matter. It's just, there are so few places, like, at least the Eve guys are pushing a lot of those boundaries. Like, they have consistently been at the front end of data science, of computer science work to get the single sharded universe and the development platform to bring up Crime Watch is an amazing talk, and the new cluster work has been amazing as a computer science asynchronous problem. Like, they have really smart dudes working for them, but mainstream games are boring as fuck for someone like me because nobody wants a data scientist on their team other than to make sure that they maximize their money, make sure that they make their they make the most monies per click or engagements or whatever. And I just can't give a shit about advertising data science as much as I can about like real problem solving data science. So I went around. Total Sandwich was asking on YouTube like 10 minutes ago, looking to get into industry. So the so one is know the mechanics. So go get guides and understand how to build things and get a good tool. Things like ISK per hour are the standard bearer for getting work done. It's not great for heavy industry, but it is great to get started. My number one advice for industrialists is always accounting. Doing the mechanical work, anybody can do the mechanical work. Like anybody can fly their industrial full of their materials and put it in the batch thing and build the thing and move it to market. But the really successful guys understand their supply chain and really make it work for them. Make sure that they are getting the profits they think they are getting, that they are chasing the thing that is worth the most of their time, that they are maximizing their return per effort rather than just focusing on the most ISK per hour or the highest investment return. They're looking at the most net return per unit effort. And in that accounting blurb, I like to mention that you should make sure that you are accounting each segment individually. So building a thing is a certain profit margin. Hauling a thing is a certain profit margin. And if you can afford it, like that's one of the first things I did to my chain was to offload the hauling. And now hauling prices have gone up since I last built anything. So it's not a zero sum thing. It's just that like maybe an hour a week is worth the cut in profits to actually get the thing delivered without thinking about it. The thing that people tend to forget with putting out those courier contracts is that you can collateralize them, so you don't hold the risk anymore. You're paying for insurance to get it to and from your factory, more so than you're paying for the convenience of not doing it yourself. Next, a common trap is to try and maximize your margins on using buy orders to buy the materials and sell orders to sell the thing. But understand that playing those markets is another activity you need to measure profits on. Is it worth the time to one ISK your competition on the sell orders? Is it worth the time to spend all week making sure that you get the buy orders you need to get and that you're actually planned out enough in advance? I personally think that selling to sell orders is worth the time, but I don't personally think that buying from buy orders is usually worth the time. That the margin paid in the difference is just not worth the time invested. And then I had one last point. What was the last point? And it's totally left me. Jeez. So it's... Oh, stockpiling. Don't stockpile. I understand that the advanced people here who might be watching the show know how to stockpile and can speculate. Stockpiling is another ISK making venture which needs to be weighed on its own. And if you don't think that you can buy now and sell later with a profit margin all on its own without actually building a thing, you shouldn't be stockpiling. You should be trying to run as lean as you can, because a stockpile is just a pile of money that you cannot spend. It is something that has weight. It has liability. It is not cash. Cash is completely, cash is lightweight. Cash is free to move around. Don't stockpile. Only stockpile if you actually think you can make money without building anything. That's what I believe in stockpiling. And I think it's a trap that a lot of early producers get into, is that, well, I'll hold on to a bunch of minerals or whatever. I'll hold on to 10 million trit and a 2 million pyrite, and I'll just build whatever feels good, not understanding that trit and pyrite are moving every day. And though you may not lose money on trit and pyrite, like if you did that, if you held on to Zydrine for the last 2 months, you would have won. But if you held on to Isogen, you would have lost until this week. So don't stockpile. Buy order competing on buy orders, Caleb, is only if you believe it's worth your time. And my feeling on buy orders is that there are very few people who that makes logical sense to spend that effort to make the extra margin. I don't think that margin is worth it for the starting industrialist. I don't even think it's worth it for the medium tier industrialist. That unless you're actually running like a 20 billion a week operation, then you might start thinking about it, because then you have overhead costs where maybe buying 2 or 3 items on buy order actually make a lot of sense, but you wouldn't do your entire operation on buy orders, because you would spend a ton of effort to save 1% on trit is just not worth your fucking time. It just fucking isn't. It's not worth, your time is better spent elsewhere. But for instance, one thing that helps me get from one tier to another tier was looking at, so in Tech 2 production, you use moon goo to produce, so moon products get refined into advanced materials. Advanced materials go into advanced components. Components are like 1/3 or 2/3 of the cost of a Tech 2 item. And so a savvy industrialist will look through their bill of materials and say, oh, I can build all of the armor plates and capacitors and whatever have you. And that's free margin for me. And for the beginning industrialist, this is a good idea. This is a good way to maximize the fact that you have less cash to play with, but you're willing to put the effort in to make a little bit more. When I was looking at it, I had plenty of cash and I was running low on time. It was becoming a real choke point for how much material I could push through my operation. And I looked at it and I said, okay, well, I still need to build like all of the armor plates. I still need to build all the sensors, and I probably still need to build all of the microprocessors and capacitors. But I don't, well, actually, no, I didn't have to build armor plates, but I don't have to build microprocessors because some other idiot is selling them at a margin that is just not worth the time for me. Like if I just ate the extra 50 million a week, I could just buy them and I wouldn't have to spend a whole day building them. Like that 50 million buys me a whole character day worth of building space. And that was a way that I was able to get another level of efficiency, was playing that market and saying, okay, well, you know what? I'll spend 1% more of my production purse and I will make almost 40% more net for that cost, probably not 40%. I'll make 20% more net profit on the end of that, because I'm effectively using the producer time I have at my disposal. So that's the sort of money-making thinking I try to give to people, is that as a low producer, as a low volume producer, yeah, I had 1 or 2 characters and, we can only produce so much. And so, making it be self-sufficient was basically enough. And, life is good. But when I was getting to the point where I was running 8 characters full time, almost 100 slots in parallel, working on like a 30 billion or a 40 billion production purse every week, all of a sudden your thinking changes. You're not thinking, what's the best, like, I'm going to produce that because it's 30% margin, even though if I put all of my weight on that item, I will produce 120% of the demand and I'll never sell any of them. I'll crash the market. Instead, I could say, oh, well, this can support this much items. How do I produce enough to get to that level? What am I willing to give up to meet that demand? It was rearranging the equation to make the extra effort, or sell off effort for money kind of thing. Like there's a lot of factors in the equation. I hope that wasn't too rambly, because I can go on and on and on about accounting. It's, like I said, it's just important to make sure you're measuring what's worth your time. And the take home is that the buy and sell margins on 90% of the products is 4%. And are you willing to do the work for that 4%? Or would you rather pay the 4% and make the other 15% on actually just building the thing? So hopefully, Total Sandwich, that was not a complete flying over your head. I feel strongly about this. I had it beat into me by Amosis, one of my old Dutch partners, and he made it go from yeah, we make enough to sell Plex, and like we can run 8 guys or whatever, and it's all right, we make some money, and then to, oh my god, we're making money hand over fist. We don't even have a place to put all of it. This is very much worth our time. So all right. Any more questions? We should still have 15 minutes of post show to go through, 10-ish minutes. Also, the last tip I have as a general Eve tip is that just go do the thing. Stop worrying about being the best at it, or being or that you can't afford it. One, it's a game, so ISK is cheap. Two, just by doing it, you're making progress, and you will learn the tricks and tips. And though reading guides and getting versed in it will make you better, doing it, one is infinitely larger than zero. So just go and do it. And if ISK is your stumbling point, if you're really at the point where you have a good idea and you know what you're doing, and you're just missing the 1 or 2 billion to get started, or 5 billion to get started, ISK is cheap. Always remember that ISK is cheap. And you can go find people who are willing to. You can get bonds if you need to raise the money. You can jam on missions for a weekend. Like there are ways to generate the cash if that's your stumbling point. So don't ever let "I don't have the ISK" be your excuse. Unless you want to fly supers, then that is a legitimate excuse. But like getting 1 billion ISK now is easier than it's ever been. And whether that's you buy in Plex and do that thing, or you run a bond to get it from your friends, like just go do the thing. And go talk to SCC Lounge if you really need a loan, because those guys have money to lend and are more than happy to talk to you about the pitfalls and the trouble and help you make the thing happen. So just do the thing. Even if it sucks, do it. Yeah, and I mean, if I may get on my horse while I wait for more questions. The very best part of Eve, in my opinion, is the dev fleet. It has been a major piece of why I've stayed in the community as long as I have. Building this show got me the job I have today. So it's I really do appreciate the professional development, and the code stuff is actually the major thing I do anymore. Like, I play Eve through the API anymore. And it's a little frustrating in that I have a laundry list about twice as long as I have time. And it only gets longer when things like Google fucks up the slides program so that I have to automate it. I'm glad that I can automate it. That's great. I'm mad that I have to automate it because they fucked up the fact that when you drop in images, they no longer expand to 100%, no matter how big the image is. I could render the image at 4K, and it would still plop into the slide at 3/4 size. Like, fucking hell. It's such a pain in the ass. So, like, that's front of my queue right now, is automating the slide deck, because if I can do that, even if it takes 30, 45 minutes to run, because it's going to be written in a way that just requires that, it's something that I can have waiting for me, and it's an hour of my life, 2 hours of my life I can get back, and I can just show up and do the show off the slide deck. I do want to give you guys my data, but I need to get through. I have to rewrite the scrapers. I have to make sure we have to get onto the V2 data store. We have to write REST endpoints for you guys to pull data, and I am just one guy who has a full-time job at a small company. So my coding time gets really sparse. And so if you're wanting to learn Python, if you have an interest in the stuff stuff is open source, and I'm willing to talk to you and work through some of the stuff that needs to be done. But I could really use the help, and I will Plex your account if you commit code. So that would be a huge help. I really should advertise that in bigger letters. So 5-minute warning. Let's see. Let's see. No more Twitter things. No new Discord things. Do join the Discord. Prosperbot is down again. God damn it. That's another problem I need to fix. Is that so? The goal I had in the long term, in my continuing to fill airspace, is that I would really like to. I'd really like to pivot this Eve stuff into more powerful real life tools. Things like, let's see, I believe in the data science tools I'm building, that it will be a stronger environment so that we can pivot from Eve stuff to real life stuff. It's just that, again, I'm missing the two end caps on the project, and I'm still not in love with my middle piece still. So I don't know. We might end up reworking the warehouse again, but the idea being that, like, if we write the Python well, then we can transition the application while keeping the logic intact. Like, there's nothing stopping us right now from from pushing real life data through the analytics we have today. If I could get my hands on if I had my hands on the raw data, we could do the same thing. Now, I don't do any special analytics right now that put us anything ahead of what you could do on Ameritrade or what have you. I just have the fact that I can run automation on it better than Joe Blow. I can't run at company level. I can just beat the dudes. I can't beat the companies. But the hope is that, like, that's why I want to do the NLTK stuff, is that opens up the door to do more better analytics, more out there kind of stuff. But Grashersha, if you're having problems with the wife, I hear you can call up the Russians and they'll cut the power to the house at least. Or they'll hack your email. Just make sure that you use the subject line Pizzagate, and the Russians will come and hack you. Wait. No, I'm getting real life again, aren't I? All right, guys. I'm gonna have to end the show right about here. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Please, again, join the Discord server. Talk to us on Slack. I do try to answer questions whenever I get them. Please don't call me on Facebook, though. I did my monthly check to make sure that there's nothing hiding there, and I had 2 people write me messages on Facebook, and I felt bad that, like, I didn't respond for almost 4 weeks. It's just that Facebook is a garbage fire, and I just don't. I only log in there to make sure that I haven't missed something from a family member. Otherwise, I check all the other mail. Like, I do like hearing from you guys. I am just another jackass like the rest of you. So do not treat me with any special reverence. We'll be back next week at our normal time. Thank you, everybody who tuned into our special show. I'm hoping we can do at least some sort of office hours tomorrow, or let me double check the calendar. We might be able to do office hours tomorrow. So keep tuned on the platforms for that. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end the show there. Thank you again, guys.